Oh, it's live, pal.
Sorry.
We will ban you from the Summerfest.
Right here in the Silverdome.
Jeff Harvey.
And I have half the brain that you do.
Welcome to the Wrestle Hunks Podcast, a podcast where three hunks get together and discuss some of the very worst things you can find on the WWE Network and the only podcast that goes big time. I'm your host, the Mordecai of microphone, Brandon Marlow, and as always, I'm joined by the hunkiest hunk, Brody Price.
Kofi goddamn Kingston.
I thought you would have been celebrating bloody Baron Corbin's crowning moment, fucking Mr. WrestleMania.
Baron goddamn Corbin. Same ring to it.
I'm also joined by the IMDb of wrestling, Nathan Marlow.
What a day it was. Fun was had.
It's always a good day when you can wake up at the crack of dawn and just watch wrestling until about the afternoon.
Yeah.
You know, very productive day.
Yeah, lots was done. I'm sure the Sporting Globe went off.
Oh, I bet.
Went off, sis.
So we've got no sponsor this week, no time with bloody 643 million hours of wrestling to watch over the weekend. It was hard enough to just watch WrestleMania 22, so we've decided to make it an ad-free episode. And as I mentioned, we're doing WrestleMania 22 this week. It was a tough battle in the poll. WrestleMania 22 won with just 2% more of the vote than WrestleMania 18. It was a knockout brawl between those two, but for some reason nobody voted for WrestleMania 15 or 16, which I thought was a little weird. Usually people love that Attitude Era shit, but people love WrestleMania 22 apparently. Had either of you boys seen this WrestleMania before, and if so, what are your memories of it?
Yeah, I definitely watched it. I mean, I probably haven't watched it since when it happened, but the only memories I really had of it was Rey winning and maybe Michaels and Cena's matches, but that's probably about it.
What about you, Nat? I think I already know, but you can enlighten the audience.
Yeah, I haven't really seen it. I've seen some matches, but I haven't actually watched it start to finish. I've never seen the Money in the Bank match of this.
Really?
So got to see that for once. So it was an okay show.
Well, yeah, I've seen bits and pieces of this show. I've seen, I think, maybe 4 or maybe 5 matches, just randomly, like on YouTube and in other formats that I will bring up later on when I get to the appropriate match. But yeah, I've never sat down and watched it start to finish. WrestleMania 23 was the first WrestleMania that our parents let me and Nat buy, so we didn't get to see 22, unfortunately.
Sad boy.
Sucked in. I got 21.
Yeah, well, 23 was the best one because it had Donald Trump and it was in Detroit and John Cena did a cool car thing.
Yeah, that's true, actually. Can't compete with that.
And also Chris Benoit's last Mania match.
So it's special. That's why you have a special place in your heart for Chris.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's move on to the history, build-up and background for WrestleMania 22. It was held on April 2nd, 2006. And on this day in history, we've got Australian golfer Carrie Webb beating Lorena Ochoa of Mexico with a birdie on the first playoff hole to win the Kraft Nabisco Championship, which is my favourite championship. I love a good Kraft Nabisco Championship.
That's a great biscuit.
We've also got over 60 tornadoes breaking out, and that was about the extent of the information I was given here, so I assume they broke out of prison or something. They're in tornado prison, and they just got out, and it's no laughing matter because in Tennessee, 29 people are killed.
Oh, damn.
They should have hid better. Hide in the bathtub, that's what the movies say. In a lighter news, we've got NBC Weekend Today anchor Campbell Brown, also bloody premiership player for the Hawks, Campbell Brown, at age 38, winning Fox News contributor Dan Senor at 34 at the Beaver Creek Chapel in Beaver Creek, Colorado.
The Beaver Cleavage.
The old Beaver Cleavage Chapel in Beaver Cleavage, Colorado.
Nice.
We've also got Nina Schenk von Stauffenberg, the German wife of Klaus Schenk von Stauffenberg, passing away on this day. Stauffenberg was one of the leading members of the failed plot of 1944 to assassinate Adolf Hitler and remove the Nazi Party from power. Don't know a whole lot about that, but I hope they're related to Eric Bugenhagen.
Yeah, I loved it when she played Shinsuke Nakamura's theme song.
Oh yeah, it was a banger. And in pop culture, we have the number one film at the box office being Ice Age 2, and the top song on the charts was Nasty Girl by the Notorious B.I.G. featuring Diddy, Nelly, Jagged Edge, and Avery Storm, and it actually became the top song on the charts on this very day. It's no One Republic, whatever that banger song was that has been playing all day.
Love Runs Out.
Oh, Love Runs Out. That's my favourite song of 2014 or 2015.
Just an absolute banger.
So the location of WrestleMania 22 it's held at the Allstate Arena in Rosemont, Illinois. This was the third WrestleMania to be held in the arena, having previously hosted WrestleMania 2 and WrestleMania 13. And this would be the final time WrestleMania was held in an arena at all. It still rings true to this day. Starting from WrestleMania 23, they would exclusively hold WrestleMania in stadiums. And yeah, just have a bunch of marks pack in instead of having a rowdy crowd under a roof, which I know there's positives and negatives to that, but for better or for worse, it's just purely stadiums now. The attendance here, obviously, is not quite as high as some of the other WrestleManias. It's 17,155. However, because there are so little tickets available, these tickets sold out in under 2 minutes, which is just ridiculous. Good luck getting tickets to that. Could you imagine trying to get tickets to that? 2 minutes is ridiculous. That's just absurd. The pay-per-view buy rate here is 930,000. This was slightly down from WrestleMania 21, which pulled in 980,000 buys. However, at the time, it was the third highest buy rate in WWE history, which can't really complain with that. And outside of 09 and 2010, the WWE would basically do over 1 million buys every year after this. So this is kind of 21 and 22 are kind of the start of WrestleMania becoming a 1 million plus buy event, and then basically continues on from then. The prior pay-per-view to this was the 2006 installment of No Way Out, which was a SmackDown branded event, obviously. And there's some absolute corkers in the match card here. We've got Gregory Helms winning a 9-way cruiserweight match, just as it should be. A member of 3 Count should always go over.
Of course.
We've got JBL defeating Bobby Lashley, Matt Hardy, and Tatanka. Real random tag pairing going up against Eminem. Chris Benoit defeats Booker T via submission to win the United States Championship. Randy Orton defeats Rey to steal Rey's title opportunity. And then Kurt Angle defeats The Undertaker in a 30-minute match for the World Heavyweight Championship, which is by far and away the best match on the card. So, the main feud heading into WrestleMania on Raw was between John Cena and Triple H over the WWE Championship. After failing to win the Royal Rumble, Triple H participated in the Road to WrestleMania tournament, where the winner would become the number one contender to the WWE Championship at WrestleMania. In the final match of the tournament, held on the February 20th episode of Raw, Triple H would face RVD and The Big Show in a triple threat match, and Triple H would end up winning the match after pinning RVD following a pedigree. Classic Triple H, just always burying the up-and-coming talent.
Of course.
Oh, just like he did today, burying that up-and-coming Batista. He's got such a bright future in Hollywood, and you just had to bury him.
Yeah. Drax will never be the same.
he's after bloody Stuber, his career's never going to be the same.
That's going to be a big hit.
The main event feud on SmackDown was between Kurt Angle, Rey Mysterio, and Randy Orton for the World Heavyweight Championship. Mysterio won the 2006 Royal Rumble match, last eliminating Orton to win a World Championship match at WrestleMania. But at No Way Out, Orton would defeat Mysterio to win this opportunity, as I mentioned earlier. 5 days later, on the February 24th edition of SmackDown, General Manager Teddy Long announced that the World Heavyweight Championship match at WrestleMania 22 would be a triple threat match involving Mysterio, Orton, and Kurt Angle. The other top feud on Raw was between Shawn Michaels and Vince McMahon. On the December 26th edition of Raw, McMahon and Michaels had words, ending with McMahon threatening that he would screw HBK, just like he did to Bret Hart anytime he wanted. The following couple of weeks, Vince would humiliate Shawn, and at the Rumble, during the actual Rumble match, Vince would distract Michaels, and Shane McMahon would run out and eliminate HBK from the match. On the February 27th edition of Raw, Shane would hit Michaels with a steel chair and force him to kiss Vince's ass. Vince would then announce that he and Michaels would face each other at WrestleMania. 2 weeks later on Raw, Vince was forced Michaels to take a public piss test due to Michaels being deceived and drugged by Stephanie McMahon on the March 6th edition of Raw. I remember none of this happening. This is just a wild feud with fucking piss tests and druggings. I don't remember any of it.
I definitely don't remember that.
So during the test, Michaels would throw his piss on both Vince and Shane, which
Nice.
classic P gag that would just foreshadowing to DX with their piss and poop gags and Vince loves cocks, etc. On Saturday night's main event, Michaels faced off against Shane in a street fight. Near the end of the match, Shane locked Michaels into the sharpshooter, and Vince ordered the match to end, which we covered that Saturday night's main event, I believe. So check that in the archives if you want to see us cover a random Saturday night's main event from 2006. So the top women's feud entering the event was not the women's championship match. It was actually between Torrie Wilson and Candice Michelle, as I think you'll agree, Pricey.
Oh yeah, this is the top feud in the company.
It's a top feud. It actually goes semi-main. That's how important you know it is.
Exactly.
Torrie and Candice became heels when they were traded to Raw on August 22nd, 2005, and they would end up aligning with Victoria to form the stable known as Vince's Devils. On the February 27th edition of Raw, Candice would fail to defeat Trish Stratus in a match for the Women's Championship, and she would slap Torrie Wilson in a backstage segment after the match. The following week, Candice unveiled her Playboy cover and then attempted to force Torrie to admit that her cover was hotter than both of Torrie's Playboy covers. When Torrie refused, Candice and Victoria both attacked her in the ring, resulting in a face turn from Torrie, and it was later announced that Torrie and Candice would face each other in a Playboy Pillow Fight at WrestleMania 22.
Yes.
Disappointing that Victoria doesn't make any appearance at WrestleMania. She's an integral part of this feud, and then she disappears.
Yeah, it's still bloody blood feud in that pillow fight though.
Oh, it really is. There's a lot of real hardcore shit going on in that. Surprised there wasn't more EC dub chants during it.
Absolutely.
So we move on here to the actual show, and the number of dead people here, I think it's 4. I kind of was half paying attention to people backstage.
What about Mark Henry?
Until the weirdos showed up.
Mark Henry got bloody casket.
Nah, he came back alive. He got revived, kind of like PCO.
Oh, I didn't see that one.
So I think it's 4, and I had Chris Benoit is the only person actually wrestling here that is dead. There's also Mae Young, Fabulous Moolah in backstage segments, and Sensational Sherry, who was inducted into the Hall of Fame this year. It's also technically 5 if you count Viscera on the pre-show, and I'm assuming Torrie Wilson's dog is also dead by now. So
I mean, probably. But...
I'd say so. It's 13 years on. That dog, it's got to be long gone.
I mean, it would be an absolute amazing knock if it was still kicking.
Yeah, it would have to be like a newborn at this stage if it's still kicking around. So as I mentioned before the show proper, Viscera won a pre-show battle royal, eliminating Snitsky to get the win. So Snitsky always the bridesmaid, never the bride. The show immediately opens with Michelle Williams from Destiny's Child singing America the Beautiful. This song takes 3 minutes, and it's you feel every one of those minutes if you're not an American. We then get an opening promo package showcasing classic WrestleMania moments set to just a banger of a song from Shinedown. Would have preferred if it was One Republic, but can't get everything. It then transitions into a promo package about the show's actual feuds. And then we kick off with the usual pyro and introductions of the commentary teams, and we headed straight into our first match, which is Kane and the Big Show defeating Carlito and Chris Masters via pinfall to retain the World Tag Team Championships. Goes 6 minutes and 41 seconds, and Meltzer gives it 1 3/4 stars.
Masters came right off on Carlito. Had to be aiming for Kane, but that's not how it worked out. Masters taking Carlito down inadvertently. Oh, the choke slam from hell! And Kane really takes Carlito down. Choke slam. High impact.
Here, Carlito makes his entrance, separate from Chris Masters, I might add, so not a true tag team. And during his entrance, he deliberately falls over for some reason. Not really sure what his deal was with that, but why not?
Trying to be like Batista.
As for the actual match, Carlito drop kicks the Big Show into an exposed turnbuckle. Carlito and Masters then hit a double flapjack that is kind of botched. Kane then gets a hot tag, and Chris Masters ends up locking in a master lock on the Big Show, on Kane, but the Big Show breaks it up. Carlito hits a backstabber. Big Show goes to chokeslam him, but Masters hits a chop block. Masters then accidentally double axe handles Carlito, which allows Kane to hit a chokeslam for the win. And after the match, Carlito and Masters argue with each other. What did you guys think of the match?
I didn't think it was. Well, obviously, it wasn't a great match, but it wasn't horrible. There was a couple fun spots that I enjoyed, but for the most part, it was just kind of just a standard sort of match. You probably see it on Raw, really. Nothing really made this feel like it was a WrestleMania match, and certainly not an opener. You wanted to get off to a pretty big start with a WrestleMania match, you would have thought. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is, and I just have here that Chris Masters' entrance, that's still great. But other than that, there's probably not too much excitement happening out of this tag match.
What were your thoughts, Nat?
Well, this is Chris Masters' his only WrestleMania match. So, yeah, that happened, and I was very bored at the start of the match already, and I just noted that I hope the big guys beat the goobers.
Yeah, look, it's not a great match. Carlito and Chris Masters basically just get squashed for the majority of it. So, I mean, nobody here is really, over enough to kind of get the crowd really that excited. They don't care too much for Kane and the Big Show. And Carlito gets a pretty good reaction from the crowd. He gets some chants, but doesn't really get a chance to do anything. So, I don't know. You want your opener to really get the crowd going, and I think this isn't really the right match. The year before, you've got Eddie and Rey in a real sort of crowd-pleasing match to get everybody up and about, and the next year you have two thrown-together tag teams wrestling for the tag titles. So, not really a big fan of this one.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, Kane and Big Show, definitely my favourite tag team that was thrown together at a Taboo Tuesday pay-per-view. I was always a big fan of them having three people in the poll for who gets the World Championship match, and then the two losers, they tag together. Oh, strange bedfellows, will they win the titles?
Hey, they ended up having a good tag team run. Even when the Authority came back, they were a tag team.
Yeah, they had that history there. So when they were throwing everybody out of the Rumble and Roman was our savior, we really, you really felt it. Felt the importance. So commentary mentions here, and I was actually a little bit blown away by this. This was the first time since WrestleMania 15 that these belts had been defended in a traditional tag match at WrestleMania, which I didn't realize that they hadn't had a proper tag match for ages. But I mean, it's kind of the way it goes these days. You just throw everybody on the card in the tag match sections. And my final note is Carlito is very over, which I wasn't really expecting that. So good for Carlito, even though he never got really a proper push.
Can't believe they might split up as a tag team.
I was expecting them to split up right then and there. I was getting ready to write in my notes and Chris Masters and Carlito split up, but
I mean, why wouldn't you do it at WrestleMania?
I reckon they probably, after they saw the goddamn male cheerleaders win the belts literally the next night, they're like, nah, that's it, I'm splitting up with you. Had enough. The male cheerleaders can get it done, but we can't. So, moving on here. After the match, Coach interviews Shawn Michaels, and he says that he doesn't regret telling the truth to Vince, and he says don't expect a 5-star classic in his match tonight, like his previous efforts at the grandest stage of them all. We then move into our Money in the Bank ladder match. It's RVD defeating Bobby Lashley, Finlay, Matt Hardy, Ric Flair, and Shelton Benjamin to win the Money in the Bank briefcase. Goes 12 minutes and 21 seconds, and Meltzer gives it 4 stars.
What a match! What a competitive match! And you can tell how motivated this was. Oh! The crash and the burn! Oh my God! Van Dam now, can he do it? Wait a minute, he's there! Van Dam to the top of the ladder! He got it! Van Dam! He's got it! Van Dam! I knew it!
So there's a lot of crazy spots going on here. I noted down some of the more honorable ones. RVD just crossbodies a ladder because he's crazy like that. He's really extreme. Shelton sets up a ladder like a ramp to the outside and hits a senton on 3 guys. Matt Hardy then hits a superplex to Flair off the top of the ladder, and the ref throws up the X to try and work everyone that Flair's actually injured. It still is a pretty sick bump for someone of Flair's age, to be honest. Shelton, Hardy, and Finlay hit the old Shield triple powerbomb to Bobby Lashley. Flair then makes his return to the match, but ends up taking another bump off the ladder when Finlay hits him with the shillelagh. Matt Hardy hits a leg drop off the ladder to Lashley. Hardy hits a side effect to Finlay off the ladder. RVD then ends up hitting a frog splash from the very top of the ladder, and then our finish sees RVD knocking Shelton and Hardy off an adjacent ladder and then grabbing the contract. What did you guys think of the second ever Money in the Bank ladder match?
Yeah, pretty good. Ladder matches and Money in the Bank ladder matches in particular are always pretty good, especially if you have some decent workers in there. So with guys like Van Dam and Benjamin and Hardy, you probably knew you were going to get a decent match. I did think it was a bit strange that guys like Finlay and Flair and even Lashley were in a ladder match. It just seemed odd, especially for Flair and Finlay. But I just noted here that the bump that Flair took off that ladder was pretty sick for an old man to take, but credit to him. He was probably like 80 at this point, so that's pretty good. I just noted how the crowd was behind RVD, and they obviously wanted him to win from the start, and they made the right choice, I think. But overall, very, very good match. What
were your thoughts, Nat?
Yeah, I can't believe I've never really given this one a chance. There's a lot of spots in this, and I quite enjoyed it, and I thought it was really good. I thought it was a silly Matt Hardy leg drop. That was just cost him the match, I think. Just looked like it would hurt his bum. That couldn't have helped his later career where he had to take some time off recently. And just the Ric Flair bump. Jeez, he tried everything to put this over, and they did a really good job. And I think they told a really good story.
Yeah, I'm in complete agreement. I think this is a really fun Money in the Bank ladder match, and actually probably one of the more underrated ones in the history of this match, probably particularly the WrestleMania ones. I think it probably gets overlooked because of the weird competitors in it, like you said, Pricey. Like, when you think of ladder matches, you definitely don't think Ric Flair, Finlay, or even Bobby Lashley. RVD, Matt Hardy, and Shelton are like perfect, but then the other three are real kind of just serious outsiders, like especially Finlay and Ric Flair, who are so old. But it just ends up working, and I enjoyed it from start to finish. It's pretty short, so you've got a lot of crazy spots packed into not a whole lot of time. I'm mad that Bobby Lashley didn't hit us with his favorite pose here. Like, come on, big guy. He needed to hit it at least once, but he didn't.
My man, Bobby Lashley.
Hit him with that double bicep.
I thought personally that the match was a little too short to be doing the stretch it off then miraculously coming back spot that Flair did. Because he gets taken backstage and then it feels like it's 2 minutes later that he runs back out. I think 12 minutes is probably pushing it for doing that kind of spot. As you mentioned, Nat, the Matt Hardy leg drop, if you ever want to know why Matt Hardy's body is completely fucked now and people thought he was going to be retired, just go watch him hit that leg drop off the ladder and then you'll understand why he doesn't move so good anymore.
It's not great.
Yeah, it's way high up and it's just like, you don't need to be doing that. That's not good. Matt also takes a hell of a bump at the end when him and Shelton get pushed off. I'm surprised he didn't knock himself out. He comes very close to just like smashing his head on the apron. So Matt's going all out in this match where he doesn't even win. My final note is the crowd really doesn't know whether to chant RVD or Rob Van Dam when RVD goes for the frog splash off the top of the ladder, which I didn't like. Come on, the crowd needs to get their shit together. Ruined a perfectly good moment.
Oh, it's true. They ruined it. Like fucking smarks.
That's why they actually took the belt off him so soon.
That makes complete sense then.
Vince was like, these idiots in the crowd don't even know what to chant. Gotta get the belt off him. So any final notes here on the Money in the Bank ladder match before we move on?
No, that should do it.
Well, after the match, we see goober-ass Josh Matthews talking to Mean Gene, and Randy Orton interrupts him. He's wearing a dope parody of the Wolfpack shirt, which I didn't remember him having this. I remember him having the parody of the classic NWO black and white shirt, but
I made a note of this too.
I was really digging his Wolfpack shirt.
You don't really get to see this one often, because even in the promo packages, when he cuts one on Ray, he's wearing the white one, and only a couple of times he actually got to wear this one, and it's a shame they haven't brought this one back, because I would buy it in a heartbeat.
100%. If they brought that back, I'd be on the old buy one get one $1 sale in a heartbeat.
Yeah, oath.
So Batista then interrupts Randy Orton, and Batista says no matter who wins tonight, they're just holding the title until he returns. He says by next WrestleMania he'll be champion again, which is actually 100% accurate. He walked into WrestleMania 23 as the World Heavyweight Champion.
Oh, spoilers, man. I haven't got to that show yet.
Yeah, spoilers. That's happening in a year, Batista. Don't ruin it. So after this, we cut to Howard Finkel, who blue balls the crowd because he makes them believe they're going to see Bret Hart. He'd been inducted into the Hall of Fame this year, but instead Finkel cuts in with saying that he didn't feel comfortable coming out here, which just, I don't know why they did that. I feel like you probably could have just done the Hall of Fame class without mentioning it.
Yeah, that's true. It was a bit really awkward.
Yeah, I don't know, like, you don't need to prank me, Fink. It's not April 1st, April 2nd.
He feels uncomfortable.
I mean, they have no Twitter back then to worry about people like tweeting like "Where's Brett" and shit like that. So
yeah, people would forget about this in a day. They'd be like, not even a day, like 30 minutes. They'd be like, oh, I don't remember that Hall of Fame segment.
Oh, Boogeyman's wrestling. I completely forgot about Bret Hart.
So in this segment, we get to see Tony Atlas and some guy called the Refrigerator. It was obviously a great year for the Hall of Fame. Surely you got a Tony Atlas laugh, Nat. Oh, the Abe Washington show is one of the many great things about late stage WWE CW.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, after that, we move on to our next match, and it's the second championship match of the night. It's John Bradshaw Layfield defeating Chris Benoit via pinfall to win the United States Championship. It goes 9 minutes and 44 seconds, and Meltzer gives it 2 3/4 stars.
He's got the right arm locked in. He's looking to hook the left. Can he get it in? He's going to get it, Cole. Look at this. He's got it in. The cross face is in, but JBL rolled him over. Shoulders are down. He's got stopped. He's got the rope. He's got the rope. JBL stole one. Wait a minute. Damn it.
JBL makes his entrance here, and the motherfucking entrance ramp physically lifts up off the ground just so JBL can enter the match in his limo, which I was not expecting at all, but I thought it was really dope set design. Jillian Hall is also here, and I almost didn't recognise her without her disgusting growth on her face that Boogeyman ate off.
She looking like a cowboy.
Throwback to JBL's roots, as they said on commentary.
Exactly.
So in the match here, Benoit tries to lock in the crippler crossface really early, but JBL's able to block it. And JBL keeps mocking Eddie Guerrero, and he even tries to hit the Three Amigos, but Benoit fights out of it. Benoit then hits the Three Amigos himself. He attempts the diving headbutt and actually hits it, but JBL kicks out. Benoit then locks in the crossface, but JBL rolls it into a pinning combination and uses the ropes as leverage to make sure he gets the win. What did you guys think of this match?
I mean, it was probably fine, but I thought it dragged a little bit. I wasn't too invested in this one, and I don't know, I'm not that into JBL matches particularly, and obviously it's a bit hard to watch Benoit matches these days, so yeah, I didn't enjoy this one too much, but I guess it wasn't too bad, but not for me.
What did you think, Nat?
Yeah, probably about the same. It wasn't a great match, but I did like that they didn't go the predictable, Chris Benoit would win because of the story with Eddie Guerrero. There was a bit of shock value. It was on Eddie's weekend, and what a damn heel. I love the finish to this. It was just like a bit of a roll up, you know. So you just need those kind of finishes at WrestleMania sometimes, and it wasn't that bad, but I mean, I wouldn't be showing this to someone who hasn't watched wrestling.
Yeah, I thought this was just a solid, entertaining little match.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot to be excited about here. It's not something that you would, as you said, something that you'd show your non-wrestling friends about, or you're not going to be going to YouTube to be like, oh, I'm going to look up a finish to Benoit JBL at Mania 22. But yeah, I just thought it was solid from start to finish. I've seen a lot worse from JBL, so I mean, I was entertained in their 10 minutes that they got. So it wasn't too bad. Jillian Hall here looks like she has literal balloons inserted into her chest, which was just bizarre. It was putting Charlotte to shame, honestly.
She put some of that growth in there.
Yeah, that's where it went. The Boogeyman didn't eat it; it just migrated. I got to ask you boys this: why did Benoit always have 4 real on his tights?
Because Chris Benoit is for real.
He's real.
Is that just all it is?
That was like a promo. Yeah, he used to say that in promos and stuff. Chris Benoit is for real.
Wow, because I don't have any recollection of that, but he had that on his tights to the bitter end.
I feel like that he started that like around when he was world champion.
That's
like
not a great catchphrase.
Yeah, I think so.
I think people because people weren't taking him seriously as champion or something, so he'd say he's for real.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that. Go back to the drawing board, I reckon. Do you reckon maybe Chris Benoit murdered Eddie Guerrero? He's got form in the killing department, so...
Possibly. I mean, I haven't really looked into it.
Exactly. You can't question him now because he's dead. So...
Maybe he just shoved a toothbrush down his throat.
Oh, no.
I don't know, just heal stuff.
Also, on commentary, Taz says that suicide headbutt when referring to the diving headbutt, which... After everything that's happened, it's a bit of a yikes with a capital Y.
That didn't age well.
Yeah. I was just like, Jesus. I know you can't predict the future, but god damn. So next up, we get a promo package for the hardcore match, and then we get Edge defeating Mick Foley via pinfall in a hardcore match. It goes 14 minutes and 37 seconds, and it gets 4 stars from Dave Meltzer. Here we get Joey Styles joining commentary for the match. He'd been doing commentary on Raw recently with JR being out, but he's back, so Joey Styles only gets to do this one match. And Mick Foley comes out wearing 2 flannel shirts. In the actual match here, Edge uses a cookie sheet, which single-handedly justified Jax including a cookie sheet with 90% of figures for about the next 5 years, so thanks a lot for that, Edge. Would have much preferred a flaming table or something ridiculous like that, but just give me a cookie sheet. I have 15 of those. So Edge hits a spear on Foley pretty early, but for some reason, Edge is the one rolling around in pain. It turns out that Mick had barbed wire wrapped around him with the second flannel shirt covering it up, and Edge ends up with a major gash on his arm because of this.
Oh no.
Which I wasn't expecting that. Like, you have to have pretty good aim to end up with a serious gash there. So
That's true.
Pretty precise from Edge there. Edge hip tosses Foley into the steel steps. Lita passes lighter fluid to Edge and he sprays it on Foley actually, but he doesn't get lit on fire thankfully. Foley gets busted up from a shot with a barbed wire bat. Edge introduces some thumbtacks into the ring, but he's the one that ends up taking a back suplex onto them. Foley then locks in a barbed wire mandible claw on both Edge and Lita. He then starts spraying lighter fluid on a table that's set up outside of the ring. However, Lita hits him with the barbed wire bat, which incapacitates him for a moment. Lita then lights the table on fire, and Edge spears Foley through it to get the win. What did you guys think of this match?
I didn't write any notes for this one, so I'm just going to go off the dome. Really good match. Fairly iconic match when you think about it. Mick, this is probably... I don't know if he had many better matches. I don't think he had a better match after this in his career. So this was like peak Mick Foley, old ass, having a good match. I remember this one and the one he had with Orton like a couple years before, which was really good. But yeah, it's just the stuff that they did in this was bizarre to see in WWE. I didn't think you'd see stuff like this, flaming table and stuff like that. And just the one thing I sort of remember is like at the end where Edge is sort of selling as he's coming up the ramp with the blood coming down his face and he's sort of shaking. It's just really good stuff from both guys. Really entertaining match.
What were your thoughts, Nat?
Yeah, geez, can't really say much other than that. I mean, yeah, 4 stars. I mean, I love this match, and I always have loved this match. It's great, and I just wanted to say I prefer Ken over Barbie. I love the spot of the thumbtacks. I mean, I think that's it's just so not WWE. It's just like it's insane. You just Mick Foley will get it because he'll be protected with his jacket and stuff. And no, Edge just takes it on the back. He cops it. They go through a fire table, which you would never see. I don't know if we've seen this since. I have no idea. And I don't know what else to say. It's just a good match.
Yeah, you boys have hit the nail on the head here. In my mind, this is Foley's true retirement match. This is really the last time he looks incredible in the ring, and he's had matches after this that aren't completely dog shit. I think he had a match with... did he have his match? His match with Carlito, I think, was before this. But
he had a fatal fight with Lashley, Booker, Cena, Randy Orton.
Yeah, he does. So he has matches that are okay, but this is his last one that's really memorable and where he can still go. So in my mind, this is where he finally retires. And like you boys said, I legitimately can't believe Vince okayed this match and let them do all this shit.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just insane. Like, the thumbtack spot's pretty bad, but then you've got, like, Mick Foley forcing barbed wire into the leader's mouth, flaming tables, like, just all of this ridiculous stuff. And I get the feeling that if ECW's revival wasn't, like, on the cards, Vince probably wouldn't have okayed this, but because they've got, like, ECW sort of coming back, they want to try and lure in those hardcore fans, I guess. So I feel like that's why he let them have such a ridiculous match. But yeah, it's just it's insane going back and watching this and being like, geez, how did they get away with this? You could not have this match in 2019. Just wanted to know that this hardcore match is literally just a Falls Count Anywhere match. So many match types in WWE are just exactly the same. So
it's true.
It's just a pointless distinction. Some wrestling figure news. Back in the day, I bought a combo pack that had the replica Hardcore Championship as well as figures of both these guys from this match in their attires, which...
Yeah, still got that title.
I got a lot of use out of those figures, and yeah, you still have that belt in your room, so...
Yeah, still got it right next to me.
It was a great belt. I got a lot of use on the trampoline.
It did. Definitely did. Just some backyard hardcore matches.
Jumping off the old pool ladder.
And faking hammer shots.
Little kid deathmatch guys.
Yeah, oath.
Yeah, we'd grab sledgehammers and fucking use them and shit.
Nice.
So like most of the kind of hardcore no DQ matches from this era and before, the unprotected headshots are pretty hard to watch, knowing what we know now. Especially because Mick Foley's like can barely string sentences together at times, so it's just like maybe we shouldn't have been doing this. You also could not pay me any amount of money to do a thumbtack spot. Like,
really? Any amount of money?
I don't know, man. That looks extremely painful.
If I gave you $1 million, you wouldn't do it.
Oh, I don't know. It would take a lot of psyching up for me to flat back onto a bunch of thumbtacks.
Yeah, that's easy. You got a New Day to hype you up.
I'd just blare fucking One Republic, Love Runs Out. And then you're like, fuck yeah, let's do it.
Yeah,
Like, if I was a wrestler, maybe if you all came up to me and like, I'll give you $1 million to take this one flat back bump on thumbtacks, I'd be like, yeah, maybe I'd do it. But if I'm a wrestler and bloody fucking Edge comes up to me or bloody Dean Ambrose or Chris Jericho, they're like, oh, do this thumbtack spot, I would be like, no, thank you. I do not get paid enough for this.
We're going to hit a big boot, a lariat, and we're going to go 1, 2, 3, let's go home.
I'll take the flaming table spot, but...
Jesus. Really?
Yeah, that fire went out like straight away. I want to know the physics of that. Why did it goes out basically immediately? I'm like, Mick Foley's going to die here. But it doesn't even catch fire. My final note, I kind of alluded to this earlier when I was talking about my history with this show. Nat had this match on his knockoff MP3 player.
I did. I love to watch it all the time, so I know this match inside and out.
Yeah, I've seen this match like
get old.
30 times at least.
Yeah, it's just a classic match for me, and it's one that's always stuck with me. It's only 15 minutes, so I mean, it's not that, it doesn't really drag, and there's always always lots of hardcore spots in it, so I love it.
And the file size isn't too big, so it doesn't take too much space on your MP3 player. Where did you get that match from?
Dad had downloaded just the match.
Illegal.
Yeah. not from the WWE Vault.
Oh, I've played WWE 24/7 Classics on Demand.
Yeah, that one.
So, do either of you have any final notes before we move on to a great segment here?
No, I think that's it.
Well, we go backstage after this hardcore match and we see Booker T with Sharmell. Sharmell is scared and wonders why all the freaks are drawn to Booker T. They go to walk off but are interrupted by Paul Burchill practicing his sword fighting. They then see Ted DiBiase and Eugene doing the classic basketball spot where Ted DiBiase kicks the ball away before Eugene can win the money. We then see Snitsky licking Mae Young's feet. So I really should have included that in our review of Snitsky's career because I think that's the peak there.
Sounds good.
He gets right into it, like just, it's so gross. So he then runs into Goldust, dressed like Oprah, apparently. I just thought he was cross-dressing here, but apparently it's Oprah. He then offers some advice to Booker for his match, involving where he should put the Boogeyman's worms. And yeah, I think this segment single-handedly makes their match later on worth it. I don't know what you boys think.
It's more entertaining, for sure.
It's, I wasn't expecting this, to say the least. We then move on here, and we see Todd Grisham with a couple of Snickers eaters in the crowd, which one had 5 and the other had 6. So,
oh, bloody hell! Nearly double digits.
Slamming down the Snickers. We wish we had some Snickers today. The old double coat Tim Tams are great, but I really could have gone to Snickers.
I'll pass. Actually, yeah.
Oh, you couldn't have eaten 5 or 6 Snickers.
Oh, I don't want to outshine those ladies, so I'll just have 4. I reckon.
It would be a real WrestleMania moment if you were to win that Snickers thing, and then Todd Grisham comes up to you and says, "Brody, how many Snickers have you eaten today?" And you go, "I'm allergic to peanuts." And it ruins the whole segment.
Sorry, Todd.
So after this pointless segment that's just advertising for Snickers, we get the Boogeyman defeating Booker T and Sharmell via pinfall in 3 minutes and 52 seconds. It gets -1 star from Dave Meltzer.
Boogeyman just kissed her with a mouthful of worms. That was disgusting. Oh. Booker T trying to take advantage. Nobody home. Boogeyman, look out. Booker's in trouble. A double choke into like a power slam. The cover. Boogeyman remains undefeated and wins his WrestleMania debut.
Maybe the peak of the match is Booker T making his entrance and his usual pyro goes off, but it scares the shit out of Booker, which popped me greatly. Booker then makes Sharmell start the match, but this is just a ruse so he can sneak attack Boogeyman and then tag himself back in. Booker hits the bookend but can't get the win from it. Boogeyman then throws Booker T shoulder first into the ring post and he begins to eat worms. Sharmell grabs his big stick and attempts to hit him with it, but she gets too scared when Boogeyman turns around. Boogeyman then sexually assaults her with the worms in his mouth. He then hits a double-handed chokeslam for the win. What did you guys think of this match?
I didn't particularly like it, but at least it was somewhat short. The only note I have is I was wondering if Boogeyman's undefeated at WrestleMania. I don't really recall him having matches after this, so
I think this is on the match.
Does he appear at WrestleMania 30?
He wouldn't have wrestled.
He might have been a Battle Royal guy.
But either way, I didn't think it was great, and I feel like Nat has more thoughts on it than I would.
Yeah, what did you think, Nat?
Yeah, well, it's an absolute fucking abomination of a match, and fuck. You sure you got the time right? I think it's 35 minutes and 2 seconds. Fucking hell, it felt long. I don't know where to start with this. Probably with the Sharmell grabbing the staff. Why did she yell multiple times before hitting him?
She's scared. She's a scaredy cat from Ballarat.
And as you got there, Boogeyman sexually assaults her, just kisses her with a bunch of wormy boys, and just you gotta love a good old big worm, big old big worm hog.
I do love the big worm of the Boogeyman.
Yeah, nice. I just hate that they're fucking moving like they're live. It's weird.
Yeah, it is so gross. Shout out to the Boogeyman for being dedicated.
Don't know if they could do that now, but whatever. I don't really care.
Look, I didn't like this match, but this is not worth negative stars. I think Dave Meltzer needs to get some fucking sense of humour. The backstage promo is worth sitting through 4 minutes of this, at the very least. But yeah, there's not a whole lot to say here. It's just Booker T and Sharmell being scared for 4 minutes before Boogeyman hits his finish. I just want to point out, I did a little bit of research after you mentioned Boogeyman potentially being undefeated at WrestleMania. He is undefeated at WrestleMania. He never appeared again. But interestingly enough, I've got his career here, and so he has this match at WrestleMania, and then I don't know if he gets injured or he's just in the doghouse, because he doesn't have another match until August 23rd at OVW.
He tore his bicep.
Did he? He tore his bicep. Okay.
For this match.
He wrestles Jacob Duncan.
Nice.
Whoever that is. And then on November 6th, he makes his return to SmackDown, wrestling one TJ Dalton.
Ooh, nice.
Not bad.
So that's kind of the guy you want to face in your match back.
So that means Boogeyman is 21 WrestleMania wins away from breaking Undertaker's record.
That's exactly right.
Also, do you boys want to have a guess to who breaks Boogeyman's undefeated streak? It happens on Feb 6th, 2007 in a singles match.
2007.
The Miz.
No, but the person who does it has been featured on this card already.
JBL?
Incorrect.
Who is it then?
Lashley?
It's Finlay.
It's Finlay.
This is leading into the classic Finlay and Little Bastard versus Little Boogeyman and Boogeyman feud.
Oh, God, I forgot about that.
They trade singles wins, and then Finlay and Little Bastard beat Little Boogeyman and Boogeyman. Literally twice. They do it at No Way Out and then at a SmackDown taping. They really buried Little Boogeyman.
That's fucking great.
Whew. They actually have a third match. They have a Saturday night's main event match with that. It's so nice. We had to have it thrice.
Yeah, the trilogy.
Whew. More wrestling figure talk. I had a double pack of Boogeyman and Booker T from this match I got for Christmas one year. I'd probably say it would have been 2006 Christmas, probably. And it came with the United States Championship, which, they think, that's normal. Booker T had the US title around this era, but it wasn't the regular one. It was the spinner version for reasons I don't quite understand.
Oh, they were planning on Boogeyman bringing it back. But, like Nat said, he tore his bicep, so...
Spinning it around like the clock.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, nice.
Also, Boogeyman's arm used to just fall off. So
it's probably the same as real life. He tore his bicep.
actually, you know what? It does fit. So, good on you, Jax. My other notes here, more wrestlers really need to be billed from the bottomless pit.
Yeah.
I'm sick of parts unknown and all that. The bottomless pit is the best place to be billed from. And finally, the entire arena is just absolutely shrouded in smoke during this match. Like, it's just a red fog and haze across the screen because of Boogeyman's nonsense. So, I'm glad he never had a proper match, because it'd be you wouldn't be seeing a whole lot of it.
Good.
Oh, well, speak for yourself, man. I love this match. Love the Boogeyman. But yeah, I guess that's all for this match. We move on here and we get a recap of the Mickey and Trish feud. For some reason, Mickey kidnapped Ashley Massaro because apparently she was best friends with Trish. I don't remember that little friendship being a thing, but I'm sure 2006 Brandon loved it. We then get the actual match here. It's Mickie James defeating Trish Stratus via pinfall to win the WWE Women's Championship. It goes 8 minutes and 48 seconds and gets 2 stars from Dave Meltzer. which very may well be one of the highest rated matches at this point in time for the women in WWE. In the match here, we got Trish Stratus kicking the ring post, which leads to Mickie James working over the knee for most of the match. Trish attempts Stratusfaction, but Mickie James literally grabs her by the vagina, which is safe to say I was not expecting. Mickie then hits a very awkward mick kick, and it's so awkward, literally nobody in the crowd realizes this is the finish of the match, because I guess they're all just too busy jerking each other off, trying to get themselves over. What did you guys think of this match?
I just have here, first of all, the storyline was just a ripper. Great storytelling. Nothing like a stalker feud. That's always pretty good. But the match, I actually thought, surprisingly, was a lot better than what I thought it was. Obviously, it wasn't a Kenny Omega Okada classic, but it was pretty solid. I thought I actually enjoyed some of the spots, and it wasn't tough to get through, which I thought it might have been, considering the time we were in for women's wrestling. But they did a pretty good job. King, I've noticed King. I got a quote here. He said, "I would gladly give up celibacy for I think it was Trish he was talking about at the time."
Yeah.
And it kind of annoyed me that they cut away from that infamous shot of Mickie James. But apart from that, I thought it wasn't too bad.
What were your thoughts, Nat?
Yeah, well, this match is remembered for one thing. Let's be real. That spot at the end where she licks it. Just wanted to say, Mickie is an absolute snack, and Trish is a snack times two. It's just a snacks all around. Mickie was the crowd favourite, and I think I don't think it was like how you saw it, Brent. I think it was just the sexualisation of how Mickie portrayed herself.
Do you reckon the crowd was real horny? They weren't just trying to be a smart crowd getting themselves over?
Yeah, that and Trish is like pushed down their throats that she's the top woman, like kind of like John Cena. I think they're trying to rebel against that. Mickie at any chance is spreading her legs and bending over. It's just a bit of a yummy kind of match. The match itself, it's not too bad. I think it was a bit of a shock when Mickie did actually win, though.
I think it's a shock because she fucking hits the worst mick kick ever.
It's not great.
I was like, was that a mick kick? And then she wins. I'm like, oh shit, it was. Overall, though, I thought it wasn't too bad, especially for a Divas era match. This is pretty solid. I was surprised that they gave him so much time at Mania in a one-on-one match. It definitely stood out from some of the other Divas era matches we've watched so far on the podcast. So yeah, I enjoyed it enough. I definitely wouldn't have treated it as a piss break because it was entertaining enough. It had a good story going into it. So shout out to everyone involved. There's some great little nuggets of commentary here. First of all, JR says this to King when he's just being real horny on commentary. He says, "She might be a little old for you. She's in her early 20s," which just, Jesus fucking Christ, JR. Didn't realise that he would be okay with just bringing up King's alleged pedophilia.
Bring me those puppies.
And also there's a Thez press from, I can't remember who does it, but JR calls it Louise Thez press.
Oh, nice.
JR was just on an absolute roll here. Peak JR. I think my only other note here is just Mickie James had the weirdest ring attire in this era. It looks like she just came off the street, wearing just a scarf and a weird skirt. I'm like, okay, this is not usually what you'd see someone wrestling in.
Ugg boots.
Yeah, it's just really bizarre, but I guess maybe if you're correct in that, just made the crowd real horny and get behind it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a solid match. Not a whole lot more to say. We cut backstage after this and see the entire McMahon family getting real horny for Vince's glistening muscles. Vince is so dark here that it actually looks like he's kind of doing blackface. They then all get down on one knee for a family prayer, which is a struggle for Stephanie because she has a little baby Triple H in her womb at the moment. He then says he'll send Shawn to hell. This is just another classic funny Vince backstage segment. I'm assuming both you boys enjoyed it a lot.
God, I don't like you, and you don't like me. It's a very, very awkward kind of segment, and the tan's not great.
It's ridiculous how tan he is here. I don't know why he went so overboard.
Yeah, it's not good.
Looked like he went to the same place that Hogan went to.
So after that, we get a promo package for the next match, which is The Undertaker defeating Mark Henry in a casket match. It goes just 9 minutes and 26 seconds and gets 1.5 stars from Meltzer.
Oh my God! Stone pile driver! That has gotta be the end of it. Holy cow! The lid is open. Well, who says Mark Henry's the world's strongest man? And now look at this goal! Mark Henry! Rest in peace!
Mark Henry doesn't have his classic 3-6 Mafia theme here. It's certainly something what he has. It's not good, but it's definitely something. Both men during the match end up fighting into the casket. Henry goes and hits the world's strongest slam and actually goes for a pin for God knows what reason. Undertaker then ends up delivering a last ride to Henry as best he can. He can't really get him up probably because he is gigantic. He then does his dive to the outside over the casket and almost kills himself. He then hits the tombstone and rolls Henry into the casket for the win. What did you guys think of this WrestleMania casket match?
The only note I have is I'm glad that one finished. I wasn't a big fan of this. I've probably said it before, but two big guys lumbering around the ring doesn't really do it for me, and especially a casket match, which is a pretty hard stipulation to get a good match out of. But Mark Henry had a marquee match, so good for him. But I don't really recall if Mark Henry had a bigger match than this in his WrestleMania career. So
when he ruined Ryback's momentum.
Oh fuck yeah! I've completely forgotten about that. I guess so. Yeah, but this is it's a match that happened, but not for me. I don't think.
What did you think, Nat?
No, I mean 1 word, 2 letters. Ew. It's fucking it's shit. This has aged worse somehow. Fucking hell, it's just not good. I can't believe this match is actually a thing on the card. It's just a pointless casket match for no reason.
Yeah, this is not a great match, and personally, I don't know how you guys kind of perceive casket matches, but I think this stipulation is really shit.
My favourite's Rusev versus Undertaker.
That's I don't even remember that at all. I might have actually skipped past that from Greatest Royal Rumble.
Yeah, it's not good.
But yeah, I don't like the stipulation, and then just in general, Mark Henry is not good enough to hang with The Undertaker at this point in his career. It's another classic. Oh, let's throw the real green, big hoss guy at Undertaker and try to get him to drag a decent match out of it, which kind of feel sorry for The Undertaker for having 6 billion of those matches. But yeah, for casket matches in general, I don't know if I've ever seen a good one, like one I'd actually consider a genuinely good match. Like, I don't know, it doesn't seem like a good match. Just roll your opponent into this casket, which really...
It's true.
It's like a shitty version of the Buried Alive match, because at least you're being buried alive there. This is just, you're in a casket and you assume you get taken out of it once you go backstage. It's just pointless, I guess. My only other note here is someone had a sign that says Donald Sterling, so I don't know, I just assumed they were a time traveler or something from the future warning us that he's racist and he's going to get banned for life. But yeah, that's a match that I really wish wasn't on the card. I know leading up to this, they were kind of... I think they were planning on doing Taker Kurt Angle, and instead they had the blow-off that at No Way Out, and because of Eddie's death, and they kind of push Ray.
Yeah.
So that would have been a lot more enjoyable than having Mark Henry shoved in here, but I don't know, I guess maybe this shaped Mark Henry to become a better wrestler down the line. So, after this, we immediately get a promo package for the Vince-Shawn match, which leads straight into the match. It's Shawn Michaels defeating Vince McMahon via pinfall in a no-holds-barred match. It goes 18 minutes and 28 seconds, and Meltzer gives it 3.5 stars.
You heard it! Here it goes! No! Oh my God!
Vince makes his entrance here and reveals his muscle and fitness cover at Ringside. JR ends up losing his headset here because Shawn ends up using it to strangle Vince. He then smashes the muscle and fitness cover on Vince's head. The Spirit Squad make an appearance here. They come out and maul Shawn. Mickey then just dances around like a goddamn ding-dong. They send Kenny up to the top rope, but he misses his iconic leg drop. Shawn then fights them all off with their megaphone. Vince goes to tune up the band here, but HBK blocks it. Shawn tunes up the band himself, but Shane McMahon comes out and uses a kendo stick on him. He tries to make Shawn kiss Vince's ass, but Shane ends up on the receiving end and gets handcuffed to the ropes. And from here on out, it's basically a squash. Shawn throws the keys to the handcuffs into the crowd. Shawn goes to hit the super kick, but stops and grabs out a ladder and table instead. Shawn climbs it, but then stops and grabs out an even bigger ladder. Shawn then hits the elbow drop through the table, and for good measure, Shawn hits a Sweet Chin Music and wins the match. Vince then gets stretched out and flips the bird. What did you guys think of the No Holds Barred match?
There were some entertaining spots. Obviously, the elbow drop through the table, the super kick as well, and things like that. But I thought in certain areas of this match, it kind of just dragged on a bit, and obviously I wasn't too invested in the story because it happened so long ago. But I thought the Spirit Squad stole the show. Really, they came out and just tore it to shreds, and they were dancing around, and fuck, what a great group they were. But yeah, overall the match wasn't bad, especially when you consider that Vince isn't a wrestler. But yeah, apart from certain spots of the match, I didn't really care for it, to be honest.
What did you think, Nat?
You gotta move. You gotta tan too. His tan didn't look as bad when he came out. Makes me think that earlier in the day that segment was filmed, and then he's had a chance to get in the shower and wash off the tan a little bit.
His Bondi Sands was still drying.
Yeah, had to wash it off a little bit. I like this match. It's pretty cool. I like the fitness cover being hit over the head. I thought it was pretty cool. You've written Mickey there, so either Nicky or Mikey, but just dancing around the goddamn ring. You said?
I think it was Mikey.
Oh, Mikey or Nicky?
Taking notes on me phone. The autocorrect gets you.
Oh, fair enough. I just wanted to say Vince must have asked HBK a couple times, "You want to quit? Huh? Quit. You want to quit?" And I think this match is just give it the 4 stars. I love the finish of the match. There's a big ass elbow drop for really not much reason. It's fucking Vince McMahon. He's only the fucking boss. He doesn't wrestle all the time. But the right person won the match. It's pretty good, and I really like when he gets stretched out. Just goes, yeah, fuck yeah.
Yeah, for a non-wrestler, Vince really does have a pretty damn good record in the ring. He tends to have pretty memorable matches. They're always sort of booked to his strengths, which it's impressive for a dude that really is not a wrestler at all, way less than like... You'd even talk about like Shane at this point in time, you'd be like, oh, he's not really a wrestler, but he's got more of a wrestling background than Vince, so... It's impressive that Vince is able to get these kind of matches out there. I think his match with Brett is the only Vince match that I've ever really like fully disliked, which that's more because Brett couldn't do anything.
Yeah, top of my head, yeah, that one.
But like you said, Pricey, this match does drag a bit. From when Shane comes out, Shawn has Vince beat. He handcuffs Shane to the ropes, and then Vince is done, but he just drags it out so long, like climbing the ladder, and then like nope, gets out another one, climbs it again, then has to hit the Sweet Chin Music. It takes way too long. I think you could shave at least like 3 to 5 minutes off this, and you probably have a match with a lot better pacing and far less of a downtime. But yeah, I think Vince looks pretty comfortable in the ring here, and I enjoyed it except for the parts that dragged a little bit. I just think surely the WWE wanted some sort of Bret Hart involvement with this match, considering like his induction is coming. The timing,
yeah.
These two having a match, like surely they were trying desperately to negotiate some sort of run in here.
Bret Hart is uncomfortable.
I reckon a lot of fans would probably be thinking, "Oh, they're trying to swerve us here." They're like, "Oh, he's not going to come out for the Hall of
he's
Fame
gonna come out in his
Don't expect
gear."
it." But then he comes out in his bloody gear and he beats up that dastardly Vince or that dastardly Shawn. Finally gets revenge for the screw job. But we don't get any of that. I thought the video package here for this match is super serious, but it also features a male cheerleader jumping off a damn trampoline to do a clothesline, which I thought that was a nice little addition to the super serious video package.
I think you're being too damn picky there.
Oh no, I enjoyed it. I wasn't expecting it. It's like,
fair enough.
Shawn getting the shit beat out of him and stuff, getting punished, and then here's bloody Flippy or Jippy doing his male cheerleader bullshit. I think I've got a few notes on the looks of the guys involved in this match here. I hope you boys agree with me that it was very disappointing the day when Shawn stopped wearing cool vests and started just wearing singlets with the sides cut off. Like, I loved when he would come out with all his sequins and his jangly bullshit, and then he just started wearing HBK vest.
Just reminds me of Shawn Michaels with the cowboy hat and some shitty tights.
His chaps.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved a good vest. Vince, I think it goes without saying, looks absolutely disgusting here. He's just juicing fucking like no tomorrow. Some muscles on muscles here. And also, Shane McMahon is wearing the baggiest, most ill-fitting suit that I've ever seen since that John Cena appearance at the Hall of Fame in his disgusting suit.
Yeah.
Come on, dude, you're rich as fuck. Get a tailor, get a suit that fits you instead of this baggy thing that you look like you picked up randomly in catering. So, any final thoughts on the No Holds Barred match before we move on here to the World Heavyweight Championship match?
The genetic jackhammer should have won.
I think, Vince he's too humble. He needs to put himself over more.
I definitely thought he was going to win this match.
Really?
Won't lie. I mean, it's a Vince thing to do. He could win.
They needed him to have that loss because they prolonged this feud for ages. The feud started in December, late December, and it just continues through to when DX finally beat them at Unforgiven.
Yeah, and it kind of even continues on when they make Rated RKO go after him.
Yeah, that's
That's up
literally
until
a year-long
gets injured.
feud, which is pretty insane. But we move on now to the World Heavyweight Championship match. We got a promo for that, and then we see Rey Mysterio defeat Kurt Angle, Randy Orton via pinfall in a triple threat match for the World Heavyweight Championship. It only goes 9 minutes and 18 seconds, but Meltzer enjoyed it. He gave it 3.5 stars. They play Rey's theme live here, and it's not great. POD just singing away. Rey eventually then comes out, and he climbs up the set that they have here to have a boogie, have a dance, and again, it's not great. Eventually, he heads off down the ramp to the ring, and the match starts. And Randy steals the belt off the ref and hits Kurt with it to kick off proceedings here. They do a double German suplex spot, and Rey just absolutely goes flying here. I was very concerned for his safety when he just launched. He got pretty close to the turnbuckle.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, it makes for a really cool spot. It made me want to see Rey wrestle at 2019 Brock Lesnar just to see the kind of crazy flying shit he could do from some of those suplexes. Rey attempts a 619, but Kurt catches him and locks in the ankle lock. Rey taps out, but the ref is distracted by Orton and doesn't see it. Kurt Angle slams Rey to the outside and then locks in an ankle lock on Randy. He grapevines it, so it looks like it's over, and Randy taps out this time, but Rey distracts the ref, which means the match continues. Orton reverses an angle slam into an RKO. Rey botches hitting a 619 around the ring post, which could have ended pretty badly for him, but he recovers with his cat-like reflexes. Angle then hits yet another angle slam on Orton and tries to hit one on Rey, but he arm drags him out of the ring. This allows him to hit the 619 and West Coast pop on Randy for the win, and wins his first ever world title in the process. What did you guys think of this match?
I think it's pretty well documented that people think this one went probably a little shorter than what it should have. Three very talented guys, and they could have done a whole lot with an extra 5 minutes or so. But it was a fun match, and probably I'd probably say the most memorable moment from this pay-per-view for me. As a kid, just watching Rey win the title was a pretty special moment, knowing what had happened towards the end of the year before with Eddie passing away. So the only note I had was they showed a shot of Dominic in the crowd, and he just didn't look as he's a lot more swagged out now. He's a big, fully grown man. So, but yeah, if they had more time, it probably would have been a better match. But it was still pretty solid.
What did you think, Nat?
Yeah, I've got a few thoughts. I'll start off with the promo package. Did anyone notice Randy Orton using Rey's trapdoor in one of the entrances?
Wait, really?
Yeah, if you go back and watch a promo, he jumps out of the sky from Rey's trapdoor.
That's I need to go back and see that, because I don't remember that.
That really caught me off guard. It was I thought that was hilarious. But getting to what you guys said about it being short, this match was actually cut in half because a few matches went over.
Oh, fuck that.
So I guess you couldn't really cut the next match by that much.
Why not just cut that match completely?
I have to get a nut out somehow.
The old nut brand.
Yeah, exactly. You know what? I thought this match was not as bad as I once thought, probably when I was a little bit younger. I think my opinion's definitely changed on this. I love the angle double German suplex. I thought it was fucking crazy. I have the emoji here of the drooling face with the cum coming out. I thought it was really good. Yeah, as you said, Rey goes flying. And I thought Kurt Angle's entrance was really, really good. The fireworks was bloody. It was fireworks central, and gets in the ring, does a bit of spinny. Crowd loves Angle. It's very, very clear Mysterio was pushed into this match. As you said, it was probably supposed to be Kurt and Undertaker, and that was because the writers thought it makes sense for Rey Mysterio to eventually get a win. And I don't know. I thought for the time it had, the 9 minutes, I think they did a good job with it, and it's hard to stand out with that much time with three people.
Well, yeah, well said. This match deserved at least 10 more minutes. 9 minutes is absolutely criminal for this. Even ignore that Rey's about to have a really, really cool moment winning the belt. Just these guys having an awesome match, and the fact that they have to cut it to under 10 minutes is really, really frustrating. Even you're saying matches ran long, and they had to cut it from this because you can't really cut it from the next match. I mean, you could have cut it from the main event, but John Cena and Triple H probably ain't gonna let that fly. You could have just cut the stupid live entrance and add the difference there to the match. That would have at least given you, I reckon, probably.
That's true, but you've already paid him to be there.
Fuck him. POD. Just fuck him. They don't need to be there.
Fuck him.
So they go at such a frenetic pace here, which I do enjoy, but I also would have liked if they were able to have that extra 10 minutes and then not need to go a million miles an hour.
I will say though, I think the live entrance did kind of kill the crowd.
Yeah,
it's not the same. It's not the same song. I don't know, it just wasn't as good.
It's also the more sort of laid back version of his theme. When later on he gets a more kind of upbeat, more oomph. Whereas this one, seeing a live performance of that is not cool at all. It's just the backup dude going booyaka booyaka.
Yeah.
No one really cares. I would have thought that if they're going to have the live performance, that it would have been better if they had horny pipers singing Ray's theme. Here's
That's a throwback.
Yeah, throwback to... Well, actually, that's in the... Is that in the future? Where?
Jeez, I don't even know.
No, that was at No Way Out 2004.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's just before this. Fuck, they could have got him in. Like, bring in horny pipers, have a sing.
I had no idea who the fuck you were talking about until you just said No Way Out 2004.
Like Jorge Pires?
Yeah.
Horny pipers?
Oh, the boxing guy.
Yeah, that was baffling me. I was like, what the fuck is horny pipers?
Can either of you explain to me why there are streamers just hanging from the ceiling at this event? I noticed it first in this match, and then it becomes noticeable in the main event as well. Why are there just streamers hanging from the ceiling?
I noticed those as well. I'm trying to think of when...
Race Fireworks had streamers come down.
Yeah, probably just got stuck.
But they got stuck there.
Yeah, they're just stuck there, which is really...
And then they come down
scary.
during Randy's entrance.
I think the crowd booing Ray here is really fucking lame. Like, even if you
notice it,
they boo him quite a bit. They want Kurt Angle to win badly. And I've seen people kind of talk about why they weren't sort of on board, and most of it seems to stem from their people like not liking that they were using Eddie for this push. But like.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it that like you maybe don't like them kind of sort of exploiting his death, but also Ray was never winning the belt ever.
Sure.
Without this. So like at least celebrate the fact that something good came from such a really fucking shitty situation. Like same with like Chavo. Chavo and Vicky ended up having like amazing careers, which I mean
Chavo would have continued as Kerwin White, and where was that going to go?
Exactly. Yeah. Like, I mean, Eddie probably wouldn't want his death to be exploited, but I'm sure if you told him, like, oh, in the wake of your death, one of your best friends would end up winning a world championship. Is that his uncle or his nephew, Chavo? I can't remember which one it is.
Yeah, it's his nephew.
Your nephew would end up having a pretty great run in the company after he was kind of just floating around, and then your wife would become a really iconic like authority figure. I think he would be. Benoit had
a pretty good US title reign from it.
Yeah, so like I don't know, it's kind of shitty, but also like just grow up, Chicago. And yeah, I guess the final note is that Nat also had this match on his knockoff MP3 player.
Yeah, I did, but it's not didn't watch it as much as the hardcore match.
I used to just watch the live entrance. Like, yeah, this is great.
Yeah. Nice.
But yeah, any final notes before we move on to arguably the best match of the night?
It was just really nice to see that little moment at the end where Chavo and Vicky come out and give Ray a hug. That's that's probably just a nice little moment for them to have, and they'll always look back on that and remember it. It'd be nice.
Yeah.
Well, we move on here, and we see Cena and Triple H preparing for their match. Triple H is just getting a massage here and getting his hands taped. Cena is just sitting in a corner somewhere. And JR's really playing up how they're different and how, oh, buddy, Cena listens to hip-hop. That's why the crowd boos him.
Rap music is for bad people.
Yeah, it's like nobody else listened to rap music in West Newbury, Mass. That's why he's hated. Next up, we get a barn burner. It's Torrie Wilson, Hall of Famer Torrie Wilson, defeating, I would say, future Hall of Famer Candice Michelle via pinfall in a Playboy Pillow Fight match. Goes 3 minutes and 54 seconds, and Meltzer gives it a dud.
Oh, look at this. With a roll-up. A roll-up, and
It's Vince's Devils.
So just kicking this off here, Torrie Wilson and Michelle McCool had the same fucking entrance music. Why did nobody ever alert me to this?
Yeah, I didn't know about this either.
They all shared music.
Like, her music hit, and I'm like, what? What is going on? And I'm like, oh, wow, Torrie Wilson just apparently had Michelle McCool's theme, which I never remembered this. I always remembered her having the theme she has WrestleMania 19 when she has the cat fight. So both women come out here wearing evening gowns for some reason. And then there's a bed in the ring. Candice takes a back body drop on the bed, and then Torrie tips the bed on her. She then rubs her dog's ass in her face. Torrie strips Candice. Candice then grabs some scissors out of her purse that is trapped under the bed and cuts off Torrie's dress. But unfortunately, Torrie ends up winning with a roll-up. And after the match, Candice is really desperate to cover up in her lingerie. But I had here, didn't you do Playboy? That's arguably a lot worse than this, so a bit confusing there. What did you guys think of this Playboy Pillow Fight?
One of my notes here that I have is that anyone who thinks Torrie shouldn't have been inducted in the Hall of Fame should watch a vertical suplex, and this one just fucking textbook, absolutely textbook. The homeboy with the blue shirt in the front row had a sign that said, "Torrie, keep your dog, I want your cat," which
Jesus,
that's a bit much. Yeah, I just have you. We're having a great time. What a great time this is, WrestleMania. Yeah, I don't understand the point of this. It takes up just a bunch of time that I could have been, sleeping or something instead of watching this. So it is what it is.
I mean, I think it's purely there just to promote Playboy, because they had to shoehorn them in somehow, and they did it pretty well with 21, giving Christy Hemme a championship match. But who was 20?
They had Molly Holly and Victoria.
Was Torrie Wilson?
And they had Sable, Torrie Wilson versus Dawn Marie. No, Miss Jackie and Stacey.
So yeah, they've kind of got a shoehorn it in. They do it the same with 24 with the Snoop Dogg match, Bunny Mania. So
yeah,
you got to shoehorn it in there. I'll scratch your back, you scratch mine. So what did you think, Nat?
It's can't have a real opinion because it's not really a match. I guess it's a sexy time. I guess. I don't know what to say about it. I guess Torrie deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Most of these girls do, just for the fucking treatment they had to go through. Like, they were never taken seriously. Torrie's just such a nice lady. She deserved the Hall of Fame.
Oh, well said. Yeah, my just note on this match is that it's a 5-star Broadway.
Yeah, I agree.
Really, if that Okada Omega 2 out of 3 falls match had a bed in the ring, probably would have went up to 8 stars. Could you imagine just Kenny Omega's one wing angel on the bed, and then Okada kicks out, throws a pillow at him. Kenny grabs the scissors out and cuts off Okada's trunks.
Oh, if he had the long boys on, and then he cut him into, and he had the short ones on. Yeah, cool spot.
Yeah, like you guys have already said, Torrie deserved the Hall of Fame for this, just having to put up with this garbage.
Yeah.
And I just want to get your thoughts. Do you think this is better or worse than the Miller Lite cat fight at WrestleMania 19?
Definitely better because you see titties and ass. I have to be honest.
What about you, Brycey?
I mean, I've definitely seen the Miller Lite cat fight thing, but I've probably seen it once or twice, so I don't know.
The Miller Lite cat fight girls.
Honestly, I completely forgot this was on the card. You couldn't have told me that this has happened before watching it.
Nice.
The bloody Miller Lite cat fight has the classic spot that you love, Pricey, where they have a cat fight and then they trip the ref over and they roll over them, except it's Jonathan Coachman.
He comes to feel.
And he gets dacked.
The ref gets up looking all like, oh yeah, look what I just got involved in. And then they slap him. They all slap him. It's a good spot.
Jonathan Coachman gets dacked and then he gets pinned by one of them and they spank him.
Just great stuff. That's wrestling at its finest. Psychology.
But yeah, we move on from that. We're almost up to our main event. But before we can get to that, it's Nat's Trivia.
It's now time for Nat's Triple Torrie Mania Trivia Puppies! So the trivia score is Pricey on 11, Brandon is on 9. Guys, how you feeling?
I'm feeling ready. I'm feeling like Kofi Kingston.
Yeah, Kofi Mania.
Hell yeah, I've got shirts made up for this win already.
Very nice.
I'm tired. It's been a long day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm very tired too.
Yeah.
So it's been a big one, but you know, when it's been a long day, this week's trivia, it's sponsored by Model Aircrafts, and you don't have to build them because Jack will steal them.
Well said.
If you didn't know, Brandon, Jack Smith is a big model aircraft collector now.
Really?
Yeah, he's into that now. He's got about four. Yeah, four.
Yeah, 4.
Oh, nice. Which ones does he have?
Fuck. You probably
A3
tell us.
something, A340,
You probably did tell us.
M78. I don't know.
Replica of the one that disappeared in fucking the Malaysian flight.
Yeah, maybe. So, are you guys ready?
As ready as
think
will
so.
ever be.
All right. Question 1. How many wins does Big Show have at WrestleMania after this?
1.
4.
That's 1.
Correct, Brody.
Yeah.
What?
His first WrestleMania win.
Oh, I misunderstood the question. My bad.
That's okay. We're all here to learn. We're all here to learn. Alright, it's alright. Don't have to stress. Alright, question 2. Closest answer wins here. On this day, how many points did Kobe Bryant score against the Houston Rockets?
46.
32.
Brandon's closer, 43.
Big game.
They had a big game. The champions later on that year, Miami Heat, had a huge loss to the Nets, 20 points, where Vince Carter scored 47.
Wow.
Ooh.
Some good trivia for you on that day. Here we go. Question 3. Don't expect anyone to get this, but you got to chuck it in. What is Mickey James's first album called?
Is it called Hardcore Country?
No.
Damn it.
Bit of country loving.
Nah, it's Strangers and Angels.
I thought you would have named it after entrance music in TNA.
Yeah, I think that's maybe a second album or something. I don't know. So question 4. Okay, in 10 years' time, who does Triple H face at WrestleMania?
Roman Reigns.
Correct.
Ooh.
And it's according to the quiz the other night we did, Pricey, Triple H faced himself.
What?
You know a good old Sporkle, Brandon?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was doing a quiz on there and said Triple H faced Triple H at WrestleMania, and I didn't get that answer right because of that.
I was trying to punch Roman Reigns in.
Yeah, so it was weird. It was very sad that they stuffed that quiz up.
That's a classic Sporkle move.
Yeah, I know. So, question 5. Carlito faced Ric Flair at Unforgiven 2005. Who did he face at Unforgiven 2006 and 2007?
Randy
Randy
Orton.
Orton.
And who did he face in 2007?
Oh, no. I thought you meant that he faced the same person.
I'll go Shelton Benjamin.
Incorrect.
I want to say Umaga.
Incorrect. Well, this won't be for a point, but think of the theme: Ric Flair, Randy Orton.
Batista.
No, it's Triple H in 2007.
What?
And I don't
so
expect
weird.
anyone to remember that. It's just a shitty match where if Carlito gets a score fight, he loses.
What?
Or something. Or if there's a disqualification or something. No, sorry, I think it was Carlito can't win by disqualification or something shit. I don't know.
What a terrible match.
Something stupid. It's bad. I think it went for 8 minutes. I don't even remember it at all. That's how what it is. Question 6. Stacy Keibler's final WWE match was against who?
Oh my god, I know this. It
Have a guess,
was
Pricey?
Molly Holly.
against
Correct.
Trish
5
Stratus.
seconds. No. It's Jillian Hall.
Oh, yeah, it is.
And where did this illustrious match take place?
Velocity.
Guys? Yes, correct. Velocity. How sad.
Hey, I think it's impressive that Stacey Keibler was having a match on Velocity, but Stacey Keibler was like a raw talent. It's weird. It's promotional.
Yeah, it doesn't matter when you're in the B show because people like EC3 can lose and then lose in 15 seconds in a battle royal.
You almost won. I got very close.
You know, it's just like in cricket. You get 1 wicket, you're on a hat trick. Question 7. Speaking of 22, What happened on the 22nd episode of WWE ECW? I'll give you a hint. The main event features a tag match. It's Paul Heyman and The Big Show, but who faced them?
Rob Van Dam and Sabu.
Incorrect.
Or Tommy Dreamer. Fuck. Damn.
Incorrect.
No, I think it'll be Rob Van Dam and CM Punk.
Incorrect. You both got RVD. Guys, have another guess of the other guy.
Hardcore Holly.
That is correct.
Oof.
Is that where he turned? Is that where he turned?
Not sure. Possibly. That would make sense.
That's what I was sort of thinking.
So far the score is looking a bit dry here. It's Brand on 2, Brody on 1. So it's cool. It's fun. That's all right. Question 8: who did Undertaker consider to break the streak here?
Mark Henry.
Incorrect.
Didn't he?
I mean, Kurt then, I guess?
Correct. He wanted Kurt to break it here.
It's a good thing he didn't, because he just fucking jetted in the next, 4 months.
It's true. So, question 9. Can you tell me what the original World Heavyweight Championship match was going to be?
Kurt Angle vs. Undertaker.
Incorrect.
What?
You guys want to have another go, just to make this
Kurt
interesting?
Norton?
No, incorrect. Now have another go, Pricey. It involves Randy Orton.
Randy Orton and Batista.
Yeah, I'm going to give you that, mate.
Oh, yeah,
Nice.
okay. What? Oh.
And that was because, obviously, Batista got injured, and then you had the Battle Royal. Would have made perfect sense when you think about it. Here's a good one, Brody. Get thinking, mate. Question 10. At school in 2006, what grade was I here?
You were in grade...
5? No, 3.
You were in grade 4.
Bryce is correct. 3.
Oh, bullshit.
I was in grade 5. I was in grade
We
5.
have a tie.
I guess that.
We have a tie.
Woo! Let's go.
You know-
Let's fucking go.
How about you guys stall for 2 seconds, because I have a question coming up.
Yeah, you find that
Nice.
question. Brandon and I will talk about how EC3 was fucking robbed. But technically, Lacey Evans didn't get eliminated, so I might get that one correct.
I think you'll find that Chad Gable was robbed of winning that Battle Royal, and then Jason Jordan was robbed
Hey man,
of
I
celebrating
don't
with
recall
his
him getting
father.
eliminated. I don't recall him getting eliminated, so he might have won. I honestly don't know.
He's still going. He's still in the ring. They haven't torn it down yet.
Fucking Colin Jost. It's all his fault.
Hey, Mark Shea, he respected the sanctity of wrestling wearing that little the headgear. Maybe he could have been Kurt Angle's son.
He should have beat Kurt Angle instead of Baron Corbin.
I would have
That would've
supported
been
that.
Yeah.
Also, why did
crap.
the Outsiders show up and imply that they wanted to finger their weekend update guys?
I mean, they're just health guys now, doctors.
Yeah, it's bizarre. Very bizarre.
Anyway,
So I've got my question here for you guys.
here we go.
Question overtime.
Question overtime. Love it.
Yeah. How old was Test here?
to think how old he was.
32.
Trying to think how old he was when he died, because he would have died like a couple of years later, wouldn't he? 34.
Brandon's closest. It's 31.
Ooh.
Nice, good areas.
So,
Thank the Lord, Test. Give me the win.
Brody, you didn't even try that week. I know you didn't, because you said it to me yourself. You said you had a big lead. You didn't have to try. But Brandon comes out with the chocolates.
Let's kayfabe him a little bit, brother. This is real. This
You're
trivia
not
segment.
supposed to tell him that.
Yeah, just keep it nice and close, this trivia. That's how we do it. Pricey on 11, Brandon on 10. Back to you, Brand. Trivia's done.
Well, we head into our main event, and instead of getting a proper sort of vignette here, we just see some highlights from the WrestleMania press conference where Triple H and Cena have some words for each other, which kind of goes to show that this isn't much of a feud. They haven't really got much to build around, so you don't even get a video package when we got a video package for pretty much everything else except for Playboy Pillow Fight. So we see John Cena defeating Triple H via submission to retain the WWE Championship in 22 minutes and 2 seconds. It gets 3 3/4 stars from Meltzer.
But it's not over. The match continues. Look at the pressure being applied by Cena. God, these two men are tough. Both these men are tough as hell. Look at the pressure that Cena's putting on the game. Cena.
And Triple H debuts his King of Kings theme here. He comes up from the ground on a throne for his entrance. And as for Cena, he has some silly-ass Great Depression entrance featuring Phil Brooks, MMA fighter and comic book writer. Cena, he comes out with a gun and shoots it into the air in what I assume was an attempt to scare the crowd into cheering for him. It doesn't work. So in the match, Cena locks in the STFU, but Triple H fights to the ropes. Triple H shoves Cena into the referee and then low blows both men. He grabs the sledgehammer from under the ring, of course, and hits Cena with it. However, Cena kicks out of a slow count from the ref. Cena then reverses a pedigree into a back body drop and hits the FU, but Triple H kicks out. Triple H then attempts another pedigree, but Cena reverses it into the STFU, and this time gets him to tap out and gets the win. What did you guys think of the main event match of WrestleMania 22?
Before I get into that, during Triple H's entrance, when he's on the turnbuckle sort of doing his pose or whatever, I noticed, like, because they had the banners on the top of the arena of all the different superstars and whatnot. Mm-hmm. So that's when I noticed Road Warrior Animal, but not like during it with like the LOD paint and all that. It was his post LOD Heidenreich run, where he's just wearing like a black vest. He has no makeup, mohawk. It just looks really weird, and I thought, what the fuck is going on?
Is he in the company at this point?
I would imagine so, if he's got the banner on the thing. But
yeah, sure.
Yeah, just sort of making mention of that because shout out to Road Warrior Animal.
I'll put anyone on the banner.
Exactly. For this match, I went into it expecting, like we did WrestleMania 6 last week, and the main event was a long match, but it was a spectacle and it built well, and I enjoyed that one. This one, I was hoping for something similar, but it sort of just, I don't know, it lacked something for the first probably 3/4 of it around there. The finish was fine. The crowd was sort of the crowd was into the finish, and that sort of helped. But I didn't particularly like this one. It sort of dragged a lot through the early stages and the middle part. But the finish sort of made up for it. But the one thing I didn't really realize is that Cena was getting booed so early into his championship run, which is very surprising to me.
Yeah, I didn't realize that either. Like, I knew the crowd turned on him pretty soon, but I didn't expect by literally the same time next year from him being crowned at WrestleMania 21 that the entire building would be booing him, like, out of the building. I thought it would have been, like, maybe, like, by 23 or 24, the crowd has really turned on him, but they've turned pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And I did some research on this because I was like, I want to see, like, I was just a dumb shit kid back then, so I didn't really take much notice when the crowd started turning on him. And I'm pretty sure, like, they started turning almost immediately. Like, when he feuds with Kurt Angle for the belt.
Yeah, I think it was Kurt when he was doing the Kurt and Jericho stuff.
Yeah, SummerSlam 05.
Turn immediately, which is kind of weird. Everyone was so hot for Cena, and then he has one feud with Kurt where he doesn't just immediately drop the belt and you sour on him, like.
I honestly, it doesn't make a lot of sense when you think about it. Like, they were completely invested with, like, leading up to him winning it, and then, I mean, I don't know how you can turn that quickly on someone. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I don't understand. Like, and then all of a sudden they start, like, saying that he can't wrestle. Like, you were cheering for the dude, like, 2 weeks ago, thinking he was the greatest thing.
They cheered for Hogan for years.
Exactly.
Cena's a fucking lot better than him.
I also found it, like, I mean, clearly they're booing him because they think, like, oh, he's being shoved down our throats. He's going over everybody. But their response to this is to cheer the fuck out of Triple H, who did what Cena did times 1,000. Like, did they forget about the Reign of Terror?
Yeah, he was champion for, like, 3 years in a row, and they're cheering for him to win the title here.
It's like, I guess Cena's the guy you want to boo now, but you're just going to forget about Triple H and him going over Scott Damn Steiner, father of Jordan Grace. Yeah, what did you think of the match, Nat?
I mean, you just literally stole all my points. I had that too. Just the crowd hated Cena, and it's only early '06, and yeah, like we just said, early on is when it started. And it's weird that they are going for Triple H. Yeah, the Reign of Terror. I literally have this written down that the Reign of Terror it's looked back upon as such a bad thing, and that he would bury everyone, but now we all of a sudden want him to win back the title. It's I saw it more of as just another guy to give the rub to Cena, but I thought this match was not as good as I thought it was going to be. I think I was really bored by it. I think, and for 22 minutes, geez, I feel like maybe 5 minutes off this match, put on the other World Championship match just to even it out just a little bit, just too long it plods.
Yeah, look, I reckon I would go as far as saying this might be Cena's worst WrestleMania match. Like, I don't know, can you boys think of one that would be a contender?
I mean, you wouldn't include Taker Cena, I guess.
Yeah, that doesn't really count.
Yeah, honestly, I don't. I mean, his one with JBL is probably better than this. The one next year with Michaels was much better. Yeah, you're probably right. I mean, I can't really remember if the one with Big Show and Edge is any good, but that seems like it probably would be better than this as well.
I think a lot of people dislike his match with The Miz. I've literally only watched it like once, so I can't really comment on it. So maybe that's a contender.
Yeah, I've never gone back to watch that one.
But yeah, like even his matches with The Rock are pretty solid.
Yeah.
His match with Rusev, his match with Bray Wyatt, like they're all solid. And this one's just, I don't know, I think it's way overrated by Meltzer. Like 3 3/4, so almost 4 stars for what is basically just a slow, dull, and boring match. Like, I don't know, it never gets out of first gear.
His mixed tag with Nikki Bella that had the happy ending was much better than this.
Oh, hell yeah, we had to endure that bloody mixed tag, and there was still had more going on.
Yeah.
Honestly, the best thing about this is just how invested the crowd is, even if they're kind of dumb with their like extreme hate for Cena. At least they're into the match. It slightly makes up for how boring it is. I found that like the first 3/4 of this match is basically like they'll take it in turns to do one kind of power move and then a cover. And it's like, oh, and Triple H will do a power move and a cover. And it's like, I'll do a power move and a cover. It's just so slow. And I don't know, like I don't really like Triple H from this kind of era. I think his matches were really boring. So yeah, it's a really sort of disappointing, fizzled out ending to WrestleMania. I think Cena's entrance is fucking awful. I don't know what you boys thought about it, but yeah, I thought his gangster entrance is so bad.
Yeah, it didn't do anything for me at all.
And the entrance again plays into they're kind of really going all in. JR does it heaps on commentary on trying to push Cena, and it's like, oh, the people who dislike him just dislike him because he's different. He's like an outlaw. And then they start comparing him to like all the gangsters that fought back against the government in the Great Depression. I'm like, okay. But yeah, it's not great. They come out with a car and CM Punk pretends to shoot people in the crowd like a goober. And then Cena comes out with an actual gun, which I was not expecting bullets to like fly out of that or whatever they had. So Cena's got his shirt here, and on the back of it, it says, down since day one, which I just need to point out that the Usos are thieves for stealing that line.
Oh, day one-ish, you know?
Yeah, they altered it a little bit. It's like It's like when the teachers, when you've got homework and you say, you can copy, but change it up a little bit so the teacher doesn't recognise it.
Yeah, exactly.
I felt like the match kind of had an attitude era feel to its atmosphere, with how into it they were. But I think most attitude era matches, like their main event matches, were more entertaining than this, even if they weren't like technical masterpieces. Finally,
as we watched today, you can have Goldberg and Stone Cold suck down beers for 20 minutes.
Oh man, if you had made Goldberg, if you made the main event of this Batista coming out for a little bit, then being fought off and Stone Cold and Goldberg just drink beers for 20 minutes with Lillian Garcia and the cameraman, I think it would have been a lot better.
5 stars in the Silverdome.
My last note was that I just spotted a fat dude in the front row whose hairline was so fucked up that he's accidentally got the old school Tyson Kidd haircut going on. Like there was that tuft of hair at the front and then a full like bald line and then his hair. Which, just shave it off at that point, brother. But any final notes on the main event before we move on here?
No, I think we covered it pretty well.
No, not really.
Well, we barely get to see Cena celebrate before we cut to the classic WrestleMania music video highlight package. And again, it's using the bloody shine down bloody banger here, so I don't mind it. But it did just remind me that like they don't do this anymore, which is a little bit disappointing.
Probably because it goes long enough, I suppose.
I was always impressed when they would do these highlight packages and then they would have footage from the main event that had literally finished like 2 minutes ago.
Yeah, they do a good job.
I was like, damn, you guys were quick. I would not be able to do that. I'd fuck that up and then this thing would just cut to black. So shout out to the WWE production team. I feel like they don't get enough love. But yeah, that does it for the actual show. What did you boys think was the best match of the night here?
Probably the Mick Foley Edge match, I think. I mean, you can't really fault it. They did a pretty good job and probably exceeded expectations of anything. That was a pretty solid match.
What about you, Nat?
Give me... I'll say the same, but if you gave me 5 more minutes of the Triple Threat World Heavyweight title, I think that one.
Yeah, I'm basically split down the middle here. The only contenders in my book are Edge, Mick Foley, and the World Heavyweight Championship match. I think, yeah, I've just got to give it to Edge and Mick Foley purely because they have, they get to actually have a decent length match, whereas the Triple Threat's just forced to jam-pack everything into 10 minutes. I would have loved to see that match go another 10. I think it would be remembered as really iconic instead of people just being like, oh yeah, Ray won the belt at WrestleMania that one time. They would remember it for being like a really good match.
Did you just say iconic?
I did.
Iconic?
I reckon Nat and I both just did the same pose. Guaranteed.
Yeah, we definitely did. I did it.
I think Corey Graves did the pose too.
Oh.
And then probably fucking tried to kiss on him.
Shut up, Saxton.
So probably a little bit more difficult. What did we think was the worst match of the night?
I had a look through the card as we were going through, and I think the casket match for me, there's a couple of matches that aren't great. The Boogeyman one obviously isn't great, but I didn't have to sit through much, and I mean, there's worms. That's kind of funky. So I'll go with the casket match. 2 big dudes. The casket stipulation, not great. So I'll go with that one.
What about you, Nat?
No, I have to go the Boogeyman match. What an abomination! Don't need this on WrestleMania. You could have just done it on a SmackDown. Just an embarrassment to wrestling.
Well, bold words there.
Yeah, sure.
I think I have to give it to the casket match because it's so much longer than the other bad matches. Boogeyman's match and the Playboy Pillow Fight, they're so quick that they're just basically over as soon as they began, so you don't really get to sit there and kind of hate it. I didn't like the opener, and I think even the main event is a bit of a contender. 22 minutes for something that's pretty boring outside of the final couple minutes.
Yeah.
It's not great, so I guess Cena and Triple H are saved by a very bad Mark Henry, and them being stuck with the shitty casket match stipulation. So, boys, what are your final thoughts on WrestleMania 22 as a whole?
It had its moments, but overall, I think it's probably subpar. It's probably I'll probably put it in the bottom half of WrestleManias if I had to rank them. But yeah, like we said before, Edge and Mick Foley was a good match. The world title was decent, and then the ladder match was good as well. So I think a couple of matches sort of saved it from being a really, really subpar pay-per-view.
What about you, Nat?
Yeah, just pretty much have to say the same thing. Just there's a couple matches that are good, a couple of shit, and then there's if you're into it, there's a lot of TNA. I mean, it's got a bit of everything for everyone, but yeah, as Pricey said, probably in the lower half, probably all middle of the pack kind of WrestleMania.
Yeah, it's not a great show. I think going back and watching it, there's a reason I really don't ever hear anything about this, and I kind of went into this sort of not knowing a whole lot about it. All the other WrestleManias around this era, I feel like, get a bit of light shone on them, but 22 feels like a black sheep. It's just in this awkward sort of situation when not a whole lot iconic happens, and then it's not great from an in-ring perspective either. I think if you didn't have Rey winning the belt here in that emotional moment, I don't think anyone would ever remember anything from 22 except for maybe RVD's Money in the Bank win.
Yeah, true.
WrestleMania is built around moments and having things that will, live on in your memory for years and years to come. This is a pretty unremarkable WrestleMania.
Yeah, I mean, compared to today's WrestleMania.
Yeah, but they should have had Eric Bugenhagen win the Andre the Giant Battle Royal, but they still managed a few iconic moments. So yeah, I guess we move on to the aftermath of this show now. And the very next night on Raw, Triple H would say to John Cena that he underestimated him in their match. Edge would then come out and say to Triple H that he deserved another WWE Championship match because he defeated Mick Foley. Over the next few weeks, all three of these men would face each other in handicap matches. It was then announced that the main event at Backlash would be a triple threat match for the WWE Championship between Cena, Edge, and Triple H. At Backlash, Cena would win the match and retain the title via pinfall on Triple H with a jackknife roll-up. But after the match, Triple H would attack Cena, Edge, and the ref with a sledgehammer. On SmackDown, Rey Mysterio would go on to feud with JBL over the World Heavyweight Championship. On the May 5 edition of SmackDown, after Mysterio expressed his feelings about being World Heavyweight Champion, JBL came out and declared himself the number one contender. Mysterio said he would fight anyone at any time, and in turn JBL announced that Mysterio would face off against Mark Henry later that night. Henry would win the match via pinfall. The next week on SmackDown, JBL announced that Mysterio would take on the Great Khali, and again, Khali would win via pinfall. But at Judgment Day, Mysterio would beat JBL after performing a 619 and Frog Splash. After the pay-per-view, the feud would end between the two, and JBL's rematch against Mysterio would have a stipulation of being his last match for the World Championship he failed to win, which he obviously did. It's a bit of a bold decision to have Rey just get squashed constantly after winning the championship.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably the thing that people point to most when they talk about Rey's first reign as world champion. Is that, yeah, they just probably underutilized him and they didn't book him to the best of their abilities, but it is what it is. They obviously didn't want to go in that direction with Rey as champion. They sort of just, because of the thing with Eddie, they gave him the belt and they sort of just helped put it on him for a couple of months so they could have a somewhat decent title reign, and then we'll take it off him after that.
Yeah, I don't know. They could have done a whole lot better booking Rey as champ, but clearly they were just doing it for basically the moment at Mania. They never really had any long-term plans for him. So after WrestleMania, Shawn Michaels would continue to feud with Vince McMahon, as we kind of went into earlier in the podcast. At Backlash, Michaels would team up with God to face Vince and Shane McMahon. Michaels would lose when the Spirit Squad interfered on behalf of the McMahons. Triple H would become involved in this feud as well, initially on Vince and Shane's side, but on May 22 he attacked the Spirit Squad after being ordered to the ring by Vince to finish off Shawn Michaels. On the June 12th episode of Raw, Vince announced that Triple H would face the Spirit Squad in a 5-on-1 handicap gauntlet match. Vince called Mitchie out last, as throughout the match he had called out the other four members one by one. But instead, Mitch was thrown out from the curtain by Michaels, who would run down the ramp and start attacking the Spirit Squad with Triple H, marking the return of DX. At Vengeance, DX faced the Spirit Squad in a handicap match, which DX won. And DX would continue to be a thing until Triple H's quad would explode and would give us a fantastic match at WrestleMania 23. Do either of you know what the original plan was for WrestleMania 23? If Triple H didn't have his leg explode
It was Triple H and Cena too.
again?
Sure.
Oh no, thank you.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what they had planned.
I'm so glad that he blew his leg up.
I mean, we got a pretty good match out of Cena and Michael, so
We did, and then the next night, or was it the next night? They went an hour, or was that a few weeks later?
It was around that time. I don't know when it was.
It's the one in London or whatever.
Yeah, might have been the week after.
Yeah,
They
it would
usually
definitely
go
would
on
be the week after.
The European tour after, yeah.
So as far as I can tell, the blood feud between Candice Michelle and Torrie Wilson would end on August 28th, where the pair had a panel and a pole match. Fans will be happy to know that Candice was victorious, avenging her
Queen.
WrestleMania loss. Candice obviously would go on to become a Divas champion. So she really turned it around from just being treated as eye candy to they started actually treating her as a serious wrestler at one point. So the next pay-per-view was Backlash, held on April 30th, and it did just 273,000 buys, which is a big old drop-off from WrestleMania.
It's about a quarter.
And we've got just some great matches here. The Carlito-Chris Masters breakup, which was kind of alluded to on this show, it's finally happened here, and they have a match on this card. It gets 3 stars, surprisingly. Umaga makes his debut and defeats Ric Flair. Trish Stratus defeats Mickie James via DQ in the Women's Championship match. RVD defeats Shelton Benjamin in a match where it's winner takes all for the Money in the Bank briefcase and Intercontinental Championship. The Big Show and Kane, speaking of tag teams breaking up, they break up and have a no contest. Obviously, Vince and Shane versus Shawn and God. And then the main event, triple threat for the WWE Championship. It looks like a pretty bad pay-per-view. Big Show and Kane get -1 star, if you could believe it.
What?
So, yeah, they get -1 star. It's the lowest rated match on the card. Umaga and Ric Flair gets rated higher. So, yeah, that happens. Not a great time for in-ring product in the WWE. But that basically does us here. Thanks for listening to the Wrestle Hunks Podcast. You can find the show on Twitter and Instagram at Wrestle Hunks Pod. I'm on Twitter as @SauceMarlow. Pricey is on Twitter as @EvilBrodyPrice, and Nat is on Twitter as @NathMarlow. You can also find the show on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, and all good services that support podcasts. Feel free to rate us on whatever service you listen to us on. And now we move on to the part of the podcast where we each suggest a show to cover for the next week's episode that we put up into a Twitter poll. And I've decided kind of to go for a bit of a random choice this week. It kind of coincides with the date next week. It's a episode of Raw that was taped in South Africa. And from everything I've read about it, apparently it's really bad. They basically took the week off, and it's kind of a house show as far as I've heard. And yeah, that took place on April 14th, 1997. So be interesting to see what that is like. Pricey, what are you suggesting?
Yeah, I just thought because we've done WrestleMania, it's always the Raw after WrestleMania is always what's next. So I've just grabbed a random Raw after Mania. I've gone the 2008 edition, so this is after Mania 24. So it's the farewell to Ric Flair. It just says here that WWE Champion Randy Orton battles Matt Hardy, and CM Punk has a match with Chris Jericho. So
Nice.
No idea whether or not that's a good show or not, but I mean we get to see the farewell to Nate, so hopefully that gets up.
And Nat, what are you throwing into the poll?
Oh, I've got a good one. WWE Backlash 2018. It does include though Seth Rollins and Miz match, which gets 4.25 stars
Honestly,
for the IC title.
that pay-per-view was so bad that by the time it got to there, I struggled to care.
That's the first match, mate, but that's all
Is
right.
it? Who's the main
That's the
event
first match on
of
the card. We'll get to that. We've also got later in the card, we've got AJ and are going to a double knockout in a no disqualification match. That gets 3.25 stars, but here's where it gets bad. We've got Nia Jackson and Bliss. That's 1.25 stars. Daniel Bryan versus Big Cass, 2 stars. There's Carmella versus Charlotte, 1 star. Bobby Lashley and Braun Strowman against the Police Boys, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. That gets 1.5 stars. And your main event for the night, Roman Reigns versus Samoa Joe in 18 minutes, 1.5 stars.
I must have been getting that Miz Seth match confused with, was it Dolph and Seth that had the 30-minute Iron Man match?
Yeah.
I remember that pay-per-view. I was like, by the time I got to that, I'm like, I do not care.
So that's a good one.
So we've got a wild card option. Do either of you boys have any suggestions? Because if you don't, I have one ready to go.
I've got no idea.
Go ahead, mate.
Well, I'm going to throw in NWA Bunkhouse Stampede.
Nice.
What year is that from?
It's from 1988 at the Nassau Veterans Memorial Coliseum in Uniondale, New York. You know, New York, where WrestleMania was just held.
Jeez, I hope the old folks home doesn't get hold of this tweet.
An entire 6,000 people are in attendance for this.
What a spectacle.
Which, you know, that's great. I just want to also point out that fucking Pro Fight Database, they've got the current champions on the side of their site, and it's just spoiled the Ring of Honor Championship match for me and the IWGP match. So, motherfucker.
Oh, we could have talked about it today then. That's fucked.
They saw it out of the corner of my eye that Matt Taven won, and then I couldn't resist looking at fucking Okada.
That's okay, because Jake Storm, a.k.a. Jake Hager, a.k.a. Jack Swagger, is still the Lucha Underground champion.
Do you mean Jake Strong?
That's the one. And the last match he had with Lucha Underground was a 2-on-1 nunchuck match.
Fuck, that sounds good.
So Bunkhouse Stampede, it's got some matches that seem to be rated okay, but I picked it mostly because it's a 4-match card, so it's kind of short after coming off these WrestleManias. And it kicks off with a 20-minute minus 2-star match. It's Nikita Koloff defending the NWA television title against Bobby Eaton. They go to a 20-minute time limit draw. It sounds like a disaster. But we also have Larry Zbyszko defeating Barry Windham to win the UWF Western States Championship. Gets 3.25 stars. Road Warrior Hawk defeats Ric Flair via DQ in an NWA World Heavyweight title match. It gets 3.75. And then Dusty Rhodes defeats Arn Anderson, Ivan Koloff, Lex Luger, Road Warrior Animal, The Barbarian, The Warlord, and Tully Blanchard in a Bunkhouse Stampede steel cage. Gets 3 stars.
Wow.
Jesus.
I have no idea what a Bunkhouse Stampede is. It sounds like a clusterfuck, and I want to watch it.
We might find out.
Just watch some old school wrestling. See what the grandpas used to watch back in their heyday. That does us for episode 30 of the Wrestle Hunks podcast. Do you boys have anything to say before we sign off here?
Just a little bit of news. Dave Batista, also known as Batista, he tweeted out about an hour and a half ago, at WWE Universe, thank you for letting me entertain you. I love this business, and whether you cheered or jeered me, I'm grateful for being a small part of your life. I'm officially retired from sports entertainment and am grateful for every second of my amazing journey. So
that's kind of sad.
Well,
this is out.
Now he can focus on making Stuba 2, Stuba 3, the Stuba spin-offs.
Just the massive Stuba franchise that it will be.
The Stuba Cinematic Universe is gonna... That Marvel Cinematic Universe will look like child's play.
It's gonna run wild on you.
It's kind of sad. We lose Batista's career and Kurt Angle's career and EC Theory's career in the one night.
But it's really a passing of the guard to Michael Shea and Colin Jost.
I can't wait for them to be full-time members of the roster.
Well, I guess that does us for this week. Does us for WrestleMania season. So that's all for this week, and stay hunky.